Hello, everybody. Hello again. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome again to Skills of the Future Bootcamp, brought to you by Skills for Skills in collaboration with More, to present you the top skills you need for the future of your workplace. You're here, you are taking the right third step, so congratulations, and tell us, how do you feel in the third day? Tell us again in the inbox, how are you feeling today? Great, excited, I see, great, that's amazing, perfect. Our team is really happy and proud. Thanks so much for your energies, excitement, and amazing feedbacks. It is literally contagious. This is why we are doing what we are doing. And to know more about the organization behind this event, we will do a brief presentation at the end of the workshop. So stay tuned. Now, let's start the session with Tania. Good morning, Tania. It's 11 a.m. in her place. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, guys. Hi.
Yeah, the chat box, we are still seeing people very excited. Thank you so much. You know about Tania, she is a shaper from Mexico Hub. Kudos to all shapers if you are with us today. She is the Vice President of Production at THR3 Media Group. She is a film and TV producer, an MBA graduate and creative industry expert based in Mexico City. She is also an entertainment and film industry leader. She is committed to use storytelling and creativity as new voice empowers in a world where impactful stories need to be heard and told. She is also an advocate for gender equality and diversity in film and television production. Previously, she produced recognized films all over the world that she can mention to you. In her job, she has first-hand experience in all stages of film production, from conception throughout the process of creating the script, with the writers, creating the business plan, financing, on-field production, post-production, distribution, and marketing strategy, up to the moment where the film reaches the consumer throughout cinemas and sport platforms and new media. Tania, thank you so much for being with us today. This is day 3 of our 10 days to learn, apply, and adapt. Please, guys, use the Q&A section for all your questions. And let's start right now. Tania, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for such kind introduction. I'm really thrilled to be in here with you guys. And I hope that you have as much fun as I have with these topics, which, even though they sound a little bit exhausting with all the phases in which we are trying to do things, I believe that these are some of the tools that will change the world, and apparently the World Economic Forum agrees. So thank you very much for being here and for rushing from work to be here. We're going to speak about creativity, originality, and initiative, which are really thrilling topics, and I'd like to start by going a little bit to the origin of the words. So these are concepts that, as you can see, well, they're a bit old. They're from the 18th and 19th century, but the truth is that we've been growing with all these topics as being extraordinary abilities. And I think working enabled to make them possible, it's amazing, and we have the power to do that. I have highlighted these 3 particular words because I believe that they gather the full meaning of why these tools are important. And in a way, by being able to create novelty, we unleash the faculties of our brain to go to different kind of ways of thinking. And that, without even knowing, give us the faculty and the power to create newness. So to me, it's important to have this as a lifestyle, because we will be able to go through different ways and actually change humanity. I know it sounds like a quite hard quest, but it's actually a fun one. And in here, there's the reasons why these skills are part of the skills of the future, and why the World Economic Forum believes it's important to develop this in ourselves in order to be prepared for the worst of 2022, though probably we have seen that the future arrived earlier. So by being ready to have the willingness to take on challenges or having new ideas or making our own decisions, we're giving the companies we are in or our own projects the capacity of having a step forward. So part of the outcomes of this workshop would be to unlearn some things that we've learned and maybe to tackle some of the reasons why this might sound as not such a good idea, which is that these tools give us the readiness to change. We're going to discuss that later, and I'm going to ask you to do the first task, and as you will see over the workshop, it's going to be a very hands-on workshop. So as you go through these activities and everything, and as you listen to the concepts that are presented in here, please write down any project ideas that come into your heads or any solutions that you might be finding to a problem. Write them down in some paper or in the computer or even wherever you're able to do it, and we'll go back to them later on. So in here, you're seeing right now the brain of a 20-year-old woman. Of course, I'm not an expert in brain science or anything, but what's really interesting to have in mind right now is those color paths that we see throughout the brain, like the red lines, green lines, and everything. And that's a way of thinking on how our brain connects different areas and different paths to it. So please have this in mind, because we will try to give our brains the freedom to go to a different path, and that's where creativity somehow unleashes. Also, by doing this, we will give the power to ourselves to envisage what we want to give. And by doing this, we can also try to go to unexpected ways, which is one of the core reasons or motivations for originality. Now, please, if I am going too fast, let me know, because I'm really excited about this. So we're going to be working throughout 3 main pillars, which I believe that by practicing them and by integrating them into our lifestyles, we're going to be more original in our thoughts, more creative, and more willing to accept those changes when they just splash into our doors. So these 3 words, besides being all words with a W, they gather some meanings that are really interesting to go through. The word win, it's about these like little things within your bodies and within your hearts that give you the ability to focus on something and that ignites somehow what you're interested in. And learning to listen to that little tiny voice in the back of our brains really helps us knowing where we can be a really good asset to give some value to a project. And this also allows us to know where our selected attention is going. And by doing that, we will be enjoying what we're doing. So as we enjoy what we do, it's more likely that we spend a bunch of time doing it and in a really active way. Then I have the wit. And the wit, I think that it's something that's magical in people that has it, because they just start like crossing concepts and everything. And there are some studies around that link that aspects of humor production to how our creativity is boosted. I'll give you some numbers later on. And finally, as all the good things in life, we have to work them out. So throughout this work, we're going to try to break these conventional routes, like the everyday route that we take to our work, to our school, and anything. We're going to try to do that, but with our brains, in order to link concepts that are not normally related or articulated in a new way. So we're going to do this in order to contrast those combinations of thoughts and foster new ones. So we're going to start with one of the myths that I believe that's always out there, which is that change agents communicate clearly. And I think this might be an idea out there because we see that change agents somehow convince other people on their thoughts. And maybe they have these extraordinary abilities to enchant someone else, or maybe not, because in the end, there's also many things that have explored the fact that it's not that people who create change or originality or breakthroughs in science or in storytelling or in many other things, that they are not afraid, as we all are, of showing a new idea. The thing is that they are afraid, but they are terrified of keeping things the way they are. So that's why we say that the real opposite of originality is conformity. If we are afraid of going through the path that's always the same, that's where we start fostering that. So we're going to do our first exercise by tapping our brains out familiarity. So please think of a worldwide known song, any of it. It can be Happy Birthday, Jingle Bells, whichever you want. I can't see the chat, but please help me doing like thumbs up if you have seen, you already have it in your minds. Oh, yeah, I can see it now. Great, good. So now please, like as you are with the full microphones off and everything, tap it to yourself, like on the desk. Okay. Now, please write down on the chat, what are the odds of someone in this room to guess which song you're tapping? And I don't know if I'm going to be able to see the results. Hold on. Whoop. I don't know what I did. But well, we're probably seeing that the odds might not be so high, right? Oh, well, I did a mess with the keynote, but going back to the topic. There was an experiment back in the 90s at Stanford held by this psychologist called Elizabeth Newton, in which she did this same exercise with 120 different songs, but only 2.5% of them realized which song it was. And you might think that they were really bad players or anything, but the truth is that we are overconfident about our predictions on how another human being gets what we're trying to say. And if we think a little bit about this, it's actually humanly impossible to tap out a song without hearing the rhythm and the tune in our heads. So when we speak abstractly about a topic, we tend to summarize all the knowledge and all the wealth of that data that we have in our heads when we try to pull it out. And this is what's called like the curse of knowledge, because we have certain difficulties on translating what we're thinking. So it's as if we were the songwriters of our original ideas. So as we keep rehearsing these songs and as we keep like going over and over and over and over them, we miss to imagine what it sounds like for the first time audience that listens to it. So as we go to our jobs or to our daily basis or to our pitches or everything, having this in mind will really help us communicating better, because we won't give for granted the fact that there might be some need of context for the other that's listening to this at first. So that would be our first exercise, and I invite you all to try to do that with your family, with some friends and everything, and you realize that it's really hard to know which song they were tapping. Now, we're gonna go through myth number 2. Creativity is limited to artistic or cultural talent. This is something that I've heard many times, probably because of the work I do. Everyone's saying like, oh, it should be amazing because you're surrounded by these brilliant creativity minds and everything. And even though that's true, and there are many people that's incredibly talented, I think that it's not limited to the artistic side. So we're gonna tackle now the part of the wit. So now that we have known how to bring our ideas and our hopes and our dreams to the forefront of our mind and know that we have to communicate them better, we're gonna try to give our brains the possibility of contrast and abstract thoughts. So this cartoon over your left, it's a cartoon that was published by the New Yorker magazine in 1998. And back then, this term of thinking outside the box was so well spread and ubiquitous that Leah Collin created that cartoon that you're seeing over there. But then, by 2006, like only 8 years afterwards, it was so overused that Sam Gross riffed on that overuse on the cartoon you have on your right. And I believe that there's 2 main knowledge or things that we can take out of this. The first one is that novelty wears off. Unfortunately, as we try to embed all these things into our lives, we tend to make them like natural, or we try to go through the same path over and over and over again, and it stops being so outstanding or so original. So what we can take out of this is that learning to abstract and construct remains, because even though it has been already 14 and 22 years of these cartoons, we still get the meaning of them. So we're gonna go now through another exercise and learn a little bit on how to put this on practice. So I'm sorry if I can't see the chat, but somehow it doesn't work at both times. So please choose a concept, whichever concept you want, but one that you can put down in an image easily. it can be whichever you prefer. And please lead me again on going through thumbs up if you have already chosen your concepts. Okay. Oh, perfect. Now, please write 3 words that describe or define or maybe represent this concept. Now let's do the opposite. Let's write other 3 words that might help us contrast or oppose or defy the concept. So with these things that you have already written down, try to the best of your abilities, it can be in whichever way you prefer, to draw something that represents that. And as you draw the concept with a definition of it, for example, love and maybe light around it because it's supposed to be amazing and shiny. And then we contrast it with probably a word, abuse. That would be a great contrast for love. And if we try to put this into a semiotic kind of way and gather them in an image, it's basically one of the tools that cartoonists use a lot. Because by having them in the same image, we create a dialogue somehow between the person that's looking at it and the one that put it down, because we start to go through concepts that shouldn't be there. So by so by concept, like anyone you want, like it can be airplanes, or it can be love, or it can be hate, it can be whatever you want, but some concept that you're able to draw in an easy way. Nature is a concept, yes. If we use nature as a concept, probably one that contrasts to exactly one would be linked to flowers. And then a contrast to that might be destruction, or probably construction without tackling the environment. So if you have a forest with some of the beautiful flowers around, and then you start chopping some of the trees, you'll be able to create a dialogue on it, on the importance of taking care of the environment. And yeah, we're going all that. Exactly, change, good. Perfect. So if you do all this and try to replicate it as you see cartoons in the newspaper, or even memes on internet and everything, you'll see that the comedy of the cartoons or the memes comes from the contrast of those concepts. And by using them, we're going to be able to unleash 19% variance on our general creative potential. It sounds a lot, but it's actually something that has been studied and gone through. Well, whenever you try to make this, and when you try to tell jokes and go through this contrast, you'll be allowing your brain to do so. And it starts like strengthening the muscle. Now, let's say life is a concept, yeah, then it can contrast with probably death or illness. So let's go through the third myth. And it's don't live for tomorrow what you can do today. Who in here is a procrastinator? Well, I have some good news for you, for the ones that are. So let's see around everyone. Okay. Here's. Aren't we all? Probably, but there's this reward culture on doing things timely and fast and effectively, and all these like key measures have been really made us link this procrastination to something that's bad. It makes small achievements, okay. Maybe your mother is one of the ones that's not. But the thing is that back in time, there in Egypt, there was two verbs for procrastination. One that meant laziness, and another one that meant like creating it with time, like giving it enough time to be out. So we're going to go through strategic procrastination, and I know that this might be a quick cut for many of us who love the power of the pressure on our shoulders to go through it. Have planned today, tomorrow. Yeah, and it's true. Qatar, Da Vinci was a procrastinator, but and there are like two ways on these strategic procrastinators. The thing is that we have to acknowledge or see two kinds of innovators. There's this conceptual innovators and the experimental innovators. So conceptual innovation can be done quickly and originate early because it doesn't need the method on going through it. But on the other hand, experimental innovators require much more methodical investigation and accumulate knowledge and accumulate skills in order to tackle what they're supposed to be doing. So there's this phrase that I really like that's young geniuses sprint, but old masters marathon. And I think that's something that we might integrate into our lives in order to go and pursue the freedom that creativity needs to be out and that originality could go through. So in order to decide how to apply this strategic procrastination, there's a study, and I think that one's from Wharton, in which they measured, for the ones that love the numbers in here, people that rushed into things and people who procrastinated way too much, and the ones that were right in the middle, that were like doing things right before the deadline or right before the commitment on things. And the ones in the middle were actually giving much better creative outcomes. Could you give us some of these strategies? Sure. We're gonna go through this exercise of the status quo, in which you'll see some of the value on doing this with some time. For example, if I'm gonna ask you to think on a problem, whichever problem you have right now. It can be in a corporation, it can be with a person, it can be with some peers, with some friends, it's okay. And as you can see in here, we have this matrix that has in one of the axes change, and in the other side maintenance of what it is. And then you have the benefits from the organization and the detrimental to the organization, people, plans. that you have. So many of the choices that we do in here in this matrix comes from decisions that we make based on feelings of control and commitment. So in this commitment part is where the strategic procrastination comes. But I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and please help me positioning yourself in some of the X's. So on this particular problem that you're thinking of, do you believe you can affect change? If the answer is yes, please go to the upper side of change. And do you care enough to try? And I think these are, yeah, sure, I can repeat the question. It's, do you believe you can affect change? And the other one is, do you care enough to try? These are questions that I do to myself in many times, because this allows us to, first of all, prioritize what's important for us, what's really important for us. And second, it allows us to know what the outcome of our efforts will be. And if it's worth giving it the time, and as some of you mentioned, on Da Vinci being a procrastinator, he actually cared and tried. And your problems are thinking, well, maybe that's not a problem, but we'll go through it. So if the answer on these 2 questions is, I believe, but I don't care, you'll probably be on the exercise. I don't know if you can see my path, but it's near to the black pace of the status quo. So you basically will walk away from whichever relationship, organization, or plans you have, because you don't care enough to try. If you don't believe you can't make the change, but you do care about it, this will probably lead to a bunch of, we'll go through it. I know, sorry. It's a way of a lot of concepts, but please, if I am leaving any points dropped out, we'll go back through them, through the questions. So if you don't believe, but you care, you'll feel stuck in this status quo, and you'll feel really frustrated, and probably you won't be turning away from it, but also you won't be having the willingness to take the time to do things. And the sooner you go through them, the better, because in the end, it's not going to affect anything. And the one that many of you were on, that's, I believe I can affect change and I care enough to try. This leads you to speak up and to start gathering enough knowledge and enough allies and enough time to that problem. And that's something that definitely will make things for better in the organization, in the people, or in the plans you have, because you will be able to start doing things around. And just to go through it, I know that I have given you a maze of concepts and a maze of ideas that right now they seem to go like to every place, and probably there's not an obvious way out. But now I'll go through the specifics of things you might do in order to get out of this maze in which I have unknowingly invited you to go, which are 4 really concrete actions you can do in an everyday basis, which is immerse into a new domain. And you probably heard this before, but the reason why it's important is because originality is not that it's made out of nothing. Originality is when you put a concept that shouldn't be there in a whole new idea. So by doing that, you're creating that new path. So whenever you immerse into a new domain, you'll come with all the baggage you have. And that baggage will be probably many ideas that are not supposed to be there. So as you integrate them, you'll be able to help the other also to go through a different way of thinking. This is something that if you have the chance to participate in like international communities like this one, or in some different areas through hobbies or through playing an instrument, or if you're in a very artistic way and you go to a business school, you'll see that you're giving this difference into it, and that will help you know how to go out. The second one will be highlighting the reason to disbelief, and I somehow use that one today, because when you give the other a reason not to believe you in whatever pitch you're giving, you'll be helping yourself to think, why should you be trying or believing in what they're saying? And that will make you go wider somehow in your thoughts. So whenever you go to a really tough audience, or to someone that it's very unlikely that he supports your idea, your change, your project, highlighting those reasons might make him think, or her think, on maybe we should give it a try, because he will go to all the possibilities. And that's something that happens to me very often in the full script analysis. Whenever I see that someone has the concept clear and knows what the down things would be of their stories, you give them the chance to keep on going, and you start betting on that person. Third, it will change your audience. Probably it happens to many of you, but I have seen it as I've been growing up with myself in the full film side, or with my father, who is a doctor. So as he's always speaking to doctors, or in my case, always speaking to people that are in film business, we tend to repeat ourselves. I'll go back to you, Midi. And as we repeat ourselves, we realize that you already know what you know. So if you do know that, and you change your audience, and probably pitch a story or pitch a project to a 5-year-old, they might be asking the questions that you're missing to answer. Or you go to probably your grandmother, or anyone that's not so absorbed on it, that audience will pop you out the things that you're missing to say. So that will relate to our first exercise of tapping the song. One of the solutions to that excess of abstraction will be aided by changing the audience to which you're talking to. And the fourth one is committing to uncertainty. And this is actually something that we have to work in a very conscious and mindful way, because saying that I want to be original, I want to be creative, and I want to take the initiative, it's something that seems very appealing. But the truth is that if you do start that path, you're going to be facing a bunch of uncertainty, and our bodies are basically designed to have security and to go through the paths that you already know. And going through these new ones means going to the less traveled path. And by being there, it might feel lonely, it might feel like it's not so worthy of going through it, and that you might like to go back to the status quo. Excuse me, when I have... Oh, great. And well, going back to it, so as you embrace that full sense of uncertainty and the outcome, you'll be able to push it around and to go through it in a better way and feel more free to draw yourself in another path. And now, just to go soon to your questions, I decided to choose this image because I think that that's somehow how the future looks whenever we decide to put ourselves into these unknown paths. And if you remember, my first task to you and my first petition to you was for you to start writing down any ideas that popped into your heads as we were going through this workshop. And that's a tool. It's a tool that's called rapid prototyping. And that tool is basically suggesting that generating as many ideas as possible, and it's better for us to try them again in the future in a different scenario, because we're teaching our brains to stop relegating the ones that are not useful in the precise moment. We tend to do this very much, and that's how we go again through the full brain that I showed you at the beginning of this workshop. We go through the same path because every time our brain is trying to go to another way because it has seen something that's really new, we tend to tell our brains, no, don't distract. That's not worth it right now, so leave it alone. And by doing so, our brain then starts learning that it's better to discard new ideas. So that's what gives us so much struggle on trying something different, on our thinking new alternatives, or on getting to have our procrastination time to be more useful. Because any idea that comes through that path, or while we're showering, or while we're cooking or anything, it's said that it's not valuable. So by doing this, we are basically telling to our brain, there's not such a thing as a bad idea in this home. This home, we have it in the inner of our minds. So I invite you to do this, to value your own ideas and interpretations. And whenever you feel like you're dry of ideas, go back to this notebook and see if any of the things that have occurred to you before, or that you have think of before, might be of good use this time. And just to go to the last of it, I'd like to leave you with this quote of Kurt Vonnegut, which is, we have to continually be jumping off cliffs and developing our wings on our way. And I think that this is really representative of what creativity, originality, and initiative means. Because we're never going to be prepared to take the flight. We're never going to be prepared to take the first step. But the truth is that as we go to that full empty spaces, we're going to be able to strengthen our muscles and strengthen our wings and be better at flying through this amazing landscape that life is. So tenacity will pay off, resilience will pay off, and this self-belief will become part of the lifestyle that we were trying to create at the beginning of this workshop. And you'll realize how beautiful it is for you to create the future regardless how change comes, or how the world changes, or how all our structures just crash around us, which is something that I think that we have all gone through, especially in the last year. So thank you very much for listening to me, and let's open up for the questions.
Thank you so much, Tania. Amazing presentation. Everyone, yeah, applauds. We are seeing people clapping in the backstage. That's nice. That's the spirit of more community. Thank you so much. And oh, yeah, we have some questions. We can go and are you able to see them, Tanya?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop presenting so I can go back to it. Yeah, perfect.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you guys. So let's go. I don't know where the questions are. Oh. Oh.
We got
Okay.
the first.
So how to create such a presentation with the colors. Mine is celebration of magic. Well, I think that's part of it. I think that creativity and our brains are already magical, and I don't know why. As soon as we grow up, we stop believing in magic and we stop realizing the inner power we have. We probably go through structures. So I've always loved these images of full color, and I actually worn this one full of color because I think that every time we see this is as if we were refracting light, and that's basically what we can all do, and that's the reason why it was done with all this splash of colors and textures. Then, how do you brainstorm for problem solving? Well, it depends on how the problem tackles to me. If I'm having a trouble in which I feel stuck and frustrated, I go back to the full axis of the status quo, and I try to think about how my abilities might change things. There are many times that they just won't change things, and if I realize that I can't affect the change, then I try to go through a different way of getting it solved. For example, if I have, let me think about it, a budget problem in a film production that I'm doing. Sometimes you get stuck in doing it the same way over and over and over again. So I try to go to some other person that has done it before and try to hear to what they have to say in order to allow my brain to go to a different path. Or I try to think on the opposite. And that really works on when you're trying to write. If you're writing, you can usually go through a path on probably the princess is stuck in the tower, so we're gonna have the shining armor to go for her. So, but what would happen if the situation was the other way around? You have the prince in the tower, and the princess has to go to rescue him. You might think on different ways of him getting there. So that might help you go through the problem solving when desired. Then, in order to achieve a successful conversation or subject, or even explaining ideas, how can we express our weird, unique ideas to other people who don't necessarily share the same method of thinking than you? I love this one, and I think it's first trying to put in the other shoes. Why is the other person not willing to talk on that terms? And I think it's like speaking a language. It's probably not that they're unwilling to hear the ideas or unwilling to go to that, but they don't have the way to decode those ideas. So maybe trying to find a middle ground or starting little and then go up might help. In my case, it was one of the reasons why I studied an MBA, because I realized that I was missing the language of business whenever I was trying to say, hey, why don't we do this story? So they were like, yeah, the story is good, but could you please like talk to me through the process in terms that I understand that I can give to my team, that they have a bunch of other priorities, and that really helps.
Tanya, I want to add on this. There is a quote by Albert Einstein saying, if you can't explain it to 6 years old, you don't understand it yourself. So I think this will help. If you have any idea, Abdelaziz, try to tell it to kids and see how they understand it. That helps with me. I do that with my, yeah.
Absolutely. I love doing that one. And also when you do that, especially on stories, it depends on what you do, but on stories, it's really interesting to ask them to tell the story back to you. Because when they try to rephrase it back to you, you see where the gaps are, or what was the thing that actually got their attention. And that's very useful too. How can someone develop their creative side? What should one do to be more creative? Well, practice and try to be out of it. I'll repeat again the pillars on which this workshop was built. And I think that listen to the whims of your heart, trying to tackle them, then use your wit to keep on daring to have a different conversation and work through the inconformity of yourself, of being exposed in a different way. That's the hardest part, but it's really worth it. Then could you please share some tips to how to develop our creativity or give birth to good new ideas? Well, probably doing this exercise that we went through. They were a little bit abstract, but whenever you try to put them down in paper, you'll realize that something else pops up. And keeping the journal that I mentioned on the rapid prototyping, that really helps, because you'll see the value of an idea that might have seemed like a bad idea, but then you reorganize it in a different way, and it's a brilliant one. How can we develop our brainstorming ability? Because at some moments, being locked trying to solve a problem is normal, but being blocked for a long time or not knowing how to go out of the state of mind that is itself a problem. Is there any tips? The audience change, for me, that would be the one on the blocking side, because by doing so, you'll change your perspective. I think it's like as if you were seeing a lamp and you change the perspective of it, then probably you'll be able to light yourself in a different way, and avoiding those shadows might illuminate the path in a clearer way. How can we develop our brainstorm abilities? No, I already read that one. Sorry. How to resist jumping from one idea to another and avoid ending up just with a pile of unfinished projects. Well, prioritize your ideas. For sure, it's a way, but also see which one you're more passionate about. In my case, I've been one of those people that goes from one kind of project to another and has very different kind of communities that I'm involved with. And the truth is that every time I've decided what makes my heart will to decide on finishing things or on going back to them, those are the ones that are really worth it. It's not that the other ones are not good, but maybe it's not now. It's for a different time. Are we all creative? Yes, I do think so. I think there's this difference between the people that are innovative in a very rapid way and the ones that need to more structure and to take more time. So why they keep saying he has a creative personality? Probably because we show them off more than others. But I think that precisely the concepts have been a little bit let down only for creative people in a way. But the truth is that every single person, even the ones that you think that are less creative, are masters of creativity. Especially, for example, it was always told that people that do math are not creative. And I think it's obviously the opposite. I think math is one of the most amazing paths of creativity and originality. And we have seen that in many people that, well, now we have actually seen documentaries about them. How can we avoid the syndrome of the blank page? Sitting down and working them out. because it's really easy for us to say, you know what, I don't feel like that today, maybe later, and go and exercise. But whenever you're there, start typing whatever feels like you're typing, and then you'll go back to it. The most important question that we forgot is, how are you? And my nicer humor. I'm good. I'm good. It's a really cold morning in Mexico, but a happy one because I have the opportunity to be here. How brainstorming with staff can be used for effective continuous improvement. I think creative a safe environment, and by doing these brainstorms on people that have different kind of skills, for example, with the lawyers, the guys from business affairs, or the creative team, and everyone around in the same table. So by the time you see that everyone's ideas are valuable, you'll be able to allow them to move forward with the thinking that they have. And this for sure will help the creativity of your team and boost different perspectives. I think that we need to be more confident of ourselves than searching to be creative, because creativity comes with confidence. Or am I wrong? Yes and no. I think that confidence helps you to put it out. Creativity is something that you already have within you, and you have the faculty of doing it. But the impact of that creativity and of that originality does comes from the confidence on the value of what you're creating. Then, thank you, Amal. And your lesson inspired me with a lot of information. I'm happy to have done so. And if you have any questions on the materials or the references, please let us know through my email that was at the beginning of the presentation, or through the Moore team, and I'll be happy to share it with you. Oh, okay, sorry, the personality test. Well, I think we have gone through them all.
Yes, we did.
You have something else? Perfect. That's it.
Thank you so much, Tania. If you have any other questions or information, tap it in the chat box and we will get back to it. Asma, are you here? We can go now to the presentation.
Absolutely. That was terrific, Tania. Thank you so much. I got so much inspiration, and yeah, that was terribly amazing. So thank you so much. Yeah, maybe we can go through the presentation if you want. Hanan?
Yes.
Shall we rapidly both our initiatives? So we kept that for the end because some of you maybe got to already know about More Initiative and Skills for Skills, which both are hosted by our hub, Global Shapers Marrakesh. So we're gonna bother you again and and go through that once more. Just so we can, tell you about what we've been doing. Specifically for More, we started since the pandemic. So with the lockdown, we took the opportunity to create initiative around learning. So our aim is to empower everyone that is feeling like having an expertise with some field or with a skill, whether it's a hard skill or a soft skill, to share knowledge. And same if there is a participant or someone interested to raise his or her capacities. So we are here. We give, thanks to all our participants and volunteers, we provide free trainings on both hard skills and soft skills. So up to, until 19 weeks now. So we've done around 62 workshops with over 50 trainers, and we're very, very happy. We carry that with our collaboration with the Skills for Skills with the amazing Hanan. So we prepared this workshop for you. This boot camp. Thanks also to our amazing Global Shapers community. So we're very, very happy and proud we are doing this together, and we are getting to learn together from each other. I will end with thanking the amazing team behind all this work. So thank you to the content team, Yusra, Asma Shraibi, Asma Taji, and a big thanks to the communication team, we am Zinab, Wasila, and by the end, I would like to thank Abdel Monaim behind the digital marketing, and also Yasser Al Gharbi. So thank you all. Thank you to all of you. Thank you, Hanan, for your amazing collaboration. And please feel free, if we can help with anything, let us know. Over to you, Hanan.
Thank you so much, Asma. As you know, Skills for Skills is an initiative that focuses on skills of the future and the jobs and careers that will be invented in the near future. We offer global expertise and international profiles to the local level through trainings and mentorship programs in most advanced fields based on the report of the future of jobs by the World Economic Forum. And we are also conducting a research-based initiative for social entrepreneurs to understand how they are structuring their businesses to stay ahead of the curve, because they are the ones to serve communities and bring faster solutions. After the bootcamp, we are preparing a series of careers of the future, so stay tuned to that. And the birth of the initiatives, this picture really witnessed the birth of the initiatives, because there is always a story behind it. And that's why I just want to support each one of you to really follow their passion and find what triggers their curiosity and creativity, and work on it, maintain the work, because that's the most important thing. And thank you so much. The future is really happening now. Connect with us and stay tuned for the next workshops. The two initiatives hosted by Global Shapers Community, Marrakesh Hub, and most of our trainers are from the network. So thank you so much, and Shapers love to everyone. And if you have questions,
the feedback form, sorry Hanan, the feedback forms will pop up, so don't forget to fill them so we can know what's going good and what we got still to improve. And yeah, register for tomorrow's workshop as well. Thank you.
We have tomorrow a technical session, so stay tuned for it. And also, because we are 100%, I want you to take a moment and just see each other and recognize that we are a big community and there is love and passion in here, and let's nurture it for the next days. Keep learning.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tania, again. Thank you.
Guys, very much, and thank you for creating this amazing initiative. I'm really honored to be part of it, and I look forward for the next workshops.
Thank you.
We have to have you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.